Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLMs, that's anti-multi-level marketing, and some true crime content here on this channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to stick around. In today's video, I am bringing you anti-MLM content. So of course, just as a disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinions. I have been pre-filming a bunch of videos today, so if I seem a little tired or if my voice is starting to go at any point in this video, or if you hear my dogs because they've been with me all day today, so they might get a little antsy as well. But as I said, I have been, if you guys could see both of my dogs right now, they just look so cute. They're flat dogging it on the carpet. But anyway, as I said, I've been pre-filming, so I've been just trying to, as many things as I can, because when I'm finally feeling up to it, I try to get as much work done as I possibly can. But today we are going to be reacting to a Seint Rep, which if you don't know, Seint used to be Maskara. I already talked about this in a previous video, but the Recovering Humbot and Isabella Lanter both have some videos about this company. I believe the Recovering Humbot has more of the stuff about Maskara before they rebranded to Seint. But this particular rep that I'm going to be reacting to today, yes, this is a very long video because it's a recruitment call type thing on Instagram. So she's pretty much trying to teach, I guess, her team or whoever's watching it how to recruit people and things like that. This rep in particular, I have reacted to her previously. She does have a little bit of a larger team. The last reel that I reacted to her, it said that she had, I think, 150 people under her or something like that. But at this point, it might even be more because we know that it's mostly about recruiting. What I will say, and I said this in the last video that I reacted to this rep, she has a ton of makeup tutorials on her Instagram. So I do have to give her props that she is also showing off the products, and she's not just recruiting people or trying to talk about the opportunity. She does have makeup tutorials, so I want to make that clear. I mean, she might be in her Insta story, she might be constantly talking about recruiting, but I will say that her content on her actual feed, she has a good mix of both of them. And I will say, she is just beautiful, gorgeous. She has different color hair in this video as opposed to the last one that I reacted to. And I think she has really pretty makeup, but I'm also not a big makeup person, so maybe I'm not a really good judge of that. But I think that she does a very nice, like, natural look and stuff like that. So anyway, let me scooch over and make sure that you have a drink, a snack, or that you're in a comfortable position because this is going to be a long one. So let's just get right into it.
All right, we are live. Today we are going to be talking about recruiting. I had asked you guys yesterday what you guys wanted to talk about today. So many people said recruiting, and I got some good questions submitted, so we're going to go over some things, but there actually wasn't, like, a lot of the questions I got.
I know we're only 20 seconds in, but let me guess. The reason why so many people want to talk about recruiting is because within these companies, allegedly, in my opinion, most of your bonuses and most of your money will come from if you're recruiting people. So I wonder if that's why people wanted you to talk about recruiting.
I got were really repetitive. So if you guys have anything like recruiting or leadership or business wise that you guys want to talk, please just like type it out or we'll talk as we go. I really want to make sure that I'm like answering any questions and hitting on things that I hear all the time. So let's dive into it. But hi, you guys. Thanks for being here. I know it's Friday. I know it's kind of late. But, you know, when you're a mom and you've just got life going on, you just got to hop on when you can. So, okay. So one of the first things that I will I'll answer some questions, or maybe I should tell you guys a little bit about my recruiting process. I don't know. What do you guys want? Maybe I'll dive into my recruiting process a little bit because I try to keep it pretty simple, okay? And I'm going to try and keep this as generic as possible. Like, this can literally be applied to any type of business if you're team building, not just with Seint. So if you're with another company, hello, hi, welcome to my chat. But so let's talk about.
Okay, my bad. I completely mispronounced the name. It's Seint, not Seint. You guys know what I'm talking about. But what she already kind of touched on was the whole mom thing. So I have seen other videos of her where she starts off by saying it's something along the lines of, hi, money making mom here, or something like that. That is obviously because she's trying to target moms, or whether that be working moms or whether that be stay-at-home moms. And I'm not saying that stay-at-home moms don't work, because they do. But I mean, as someone, a mom who's working in another location, like building a career, that kind of a thing. So obviously she's trying to target those types, that target market. And it's, as someone who is going to be a mom, I can definitely see, after all of the changes that have been going on, I can definitely understand a little bit more why some of these moms end up in these MLM companies. However, as I said, she's targeting moms because she herself is a mom, and a lot of people can find that relatable, and she's kind of using it to her advantage. And we know a lot of moms are part of MLMs.
But so let's talk about recruiting and what your process should look like. I think a lot of the times we tend to overcomplicate it, like most of the time. I know I did, for sure. It's just, there's this rush that comes with when someone is interested, and you just get so excited and you're just like, yay, like, let me tell you all the things. When really, we just need to almost like pause and just be like, okay, this is super exciting. I have someone who's interested. Now, let me see what they're saying and how can I best respond? Is there a video I can send them? Can I send them a voice message? Can I invite them to an opportunity call? Can I get on a phone call with them? Like, these are all things that are so much better than just mass typing out your answer. Like, if somebody says, a really common one is like, well, can you tell me about their compensation plan, or, you know, are there minimums, like whatever it may be. And it's so easy to automatically just be like, no, there's no minimums, or this is what it is, and like type everything out. And that can feel so overwhelming. Just like try and imagine when you were being recruited, what was that process like? And that is what you should be duplicating. Unless it was overwhelming, then is there a way to simplify it? So if somebody is asking you something like, can you tell me more about your compensation plan? You can just be like, yes, actually, I have a video about it, or I have a PDF that breaks it down. If I sent it to you, would you take some time to watch it or to look it over? And then it takes away all the pressure from you. It's literally just handing them a resource. And what you're doing when you're recruiting people, and this is important to remember, what you're doing when you're recruiting people is you are showing them, if they were to join, how to recruit themselves. So remember that when you're recruiting. So if you're typing out long messages, or if it's dragging out over months at a time, then that's what they're subconsciously going to think that recruiting needs to be like. And we don't want that, right? Like, we should be closing people in like 48 hours, okay? So
why do you need to be closing people in 48 hours though? Because there are some people who would like to do some research on the company. Maybe they need some more time. Maybe they are very skeptical. Maybe they do need a little more explanation, because, well, I kind of understand where she's coming from, because yes, when you get long responses, that can be overwhelming. Because sometimes when I'm having a conversation with someone, or if, let's say, I'm talking to someone in my comment section or something like that, depending on what's going on at that point, like maybe it's super busy, or maybe I'm in the middle of something. Sometimes when you get a long message or something, you want to be able to actually focus on it. So you wait, or some people might even forget. So, and then the rep doesn't get any response back. So I can see where she's coming from with not being overwhelming and saying something along the lines of, oh, I have a video that I made about that. Can I send it to you? So that makes sense to me. That does. But at the same time, if someone's asking you a question, you need to take time to talk to them about it. So you need to be able to, in a way, because here's the thing, is that a lot of these compensation plans are very complex. They're very confusing, and that can be overwhelming to someone. So if you have to explain a compensation plan to a person and they haven't even signed up yet, I mean, that can deter someone from joining the company because, okay, well, why is it so complicated? That's kind of a red flag to me. Why are there so many different percentages and why is it like this? Because it should just be cut and dry. If we're really just selling the product here, then it should be dependent on, okay, well, if you sell this much, this is your commission for it. Oh, well, but if you want to start building a team, and then it gets overcomplicated. These MLM companies, in my opinion, make compensation plans overcomplicated so that people don't understand it, so that people just kind of jump in and don't pay attention to that. They just hope for the best, that the back office is going to figure out all of their information. There are some reps out there, there are some uplines that do a really good job of explaining these compensation plans, and I've used those videos in other videos of mine. Why do we need to close people in 48 hours? If you're trying to build a team, and this is something that I'll never understand with MLM companies. They will sign up anyone with a pulse to be able to rank advance, to be able to do that. But in my opinion, why aren't you focusing on people who will, I guess, how do I put this? Why aren't you being picky about the people that you recruit? Because if we're looking at, let's say, because I worked as a recruiter in long time ago when I first graduated with my bachelor's degree before I went back to school for my master's. I worked as a recruiter, and while we did do cold calling and stuff like that too, I hated that part of the job. But when we had conversations with people that we were looking to recruit for a specific company or something like that, because we would get hired by another company, and we would be kind of picky because we would look at someone's credentials and be like, okay, well, they actually seem like a pretty good fit. They have been at this company for a really long time, so maybe they are looking for something new, or maybe they love their job, that's why they've been there for so long. But we would look at their credentials and we would look and see if they even matched the job description that we're looking for. So that kind of will never really make sense to me with MLM companies, because I mean, it does make sense because you want to be able to grow as fast as you possibly can and rank advance and all of that. But at the same time, don't you want to recruit people, a specific type of person that you know is going to stick with you on this team, that isn't just another body that will eventually drop off and then you're going to have to find a replacement for that person? If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
First thing first is always to just keep it simple and send them a resource. If you do not have a resource, always double check with your upline first, because there might be something that you just aren't aware of, and that's great if there is. But if there's not, then it's your job to go and make it. Go make it for somebody. Go make it for your team, for your future team. Create that resource. Do it messy. Do it sloppy. It's still going to be better to send them a resource like a video or a PDF or something, rather than just typing out a huge paragraph. I promise. So think about things like if something's missing in your business that'll help you recruit, go do it. Go make it happen. It's happen for yourself. Hopefully I'm still here. Okay. Anyways, so that's the first thing. It literally should just be keeping it simple, sending them to a resource. Now, if you are new to recruiting, like let's say, or new to a business, actually, this is still the best time to be recruiting, because you don't need to be an expert, because you're going to be sending them resources. Or at the very least, you can literally just say, you know what? I'm still kind of fresh to all of this and I'm still learning myself. Would you mind if I just looped in my mentor? I would love for you to like connect with her anyways as a potential upline for you. And then she can kind of answer some of these questions. Great, that takes out all the pressure from you. Then you get them connected with somebody else on your team.
That's something else that bothers me, is that these reps don't get the proper training. I get being nervous about it or something like that and making sure that you get all the points right. So that's why you want to get your mentor, your upline, on a call with you or something like that. So I get that. But when you're signing up for these things, wouldn't you expect that the person who's recruiting you knows what they're talking about? Wouldn't you expect that that person has some kind of qualifications to be able to recruit you, or that they're comfortable recruiting you? Because if they're not comfortable recruiting you, then how are you supposed to feel comfortable signing up under them? If I'm not sure if that makes sense or not.
Else on your team, and like a third party, somebody who's not in part of that relationship that you have, and they can just kind of like ask harder questions or just be more straightforward. And it's really nice. If you're not utilizing third party chats with your upline, definitely get in the habit of doing those, because you learn a lot from them as well, because you're going to be listening to what they are saying and you should be taking notes. Like, okay, when somebody asks me this question in the future, I can now know how to respond. Okay, so just keeping it really simple, creating the resources if you need them. And then my biggest thing also would be to, when you're pausing after, you're having your freak out moment, you're like, someone's interested, yeah! And when you're pausing for a second to let those emotions out and thinking how you can respond, the next step should be, can I answer their question with a question? So for example, a common one that I hear often is, I'm just like not good at makeup. So I'm just not sure if I'm cut out for it. And then the easiest response, that's kind of a blanket response for anybody and any question, is just a simple, well, are you open and willing to learn? Yeah, great. If they say no, then you know that this isn't the best fit for them. But if they're open and willing and to be coachable and to learn some new things, then one, you not only know the type of personality that they have, but also you're giving them this idea of an expectation. Because a lot of the time, I think sometimes in network marketing, we downplay how much work it is. Because to be honest, this is a lot of work. You do have to do things. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes. That doesn't mean that you're spending 40 hours a week running your business necessarily, but you do have to be disciplined with the time that you have. And so when you're asking someone, well, are you willing to do the work? You're telling them and teaching them that there's work to do. And it's somewhat of an expectation, and it's being realistic. Okay, I've got some.
If I'm asking someone a question about a business opportunity, I would definitely expect for them to know what they're talking about and to answer my questions. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Questions in here. Okay, this is a good question. Couple questions coming in. This is good. Okay, so we'll start with, do you do cold messages? I don't anymore. I'll be honest and say I totally did. This is my third network marketing company. A big part of why I chose Seint was because I knew they didn't do cold messaging, and that I wanted to learn how to authentically grow and recruit. But I have in the past, and I have with Seint, I'll be honest, it is what it is. We all learn and grow, right? But I don't recommend it. And the reason why is because not a single person I've cold messaged is here now. Or maybe if they did sign up, they're still not active in their business or something like that. But I genuinely can't think of a single person I cold messaged that is on my team that I've recruited. There has to be some sort of connection and relationship. There does. It kind of depends, I guess, on what your definition of a cold message is. Because to me, if I've been kind of talking to someone, like we respond to each other's stories or whatever, that's a relationship. Like, especially if it's related to my makeup stuff, like if they're responding positively to tutorials or things I share about my team, you know, things like that, then that's just an easy like, hey, I've noticed that you've just been really like loving on me and supporting me, and I really, really appreciate that. I'm just curious if you've been interested in the artist program or whatever it is that you're doing. And it can be that simple. You don't have to have this crazy like best friend for 7 years relationship with these people. It just don't overcomplicate it. It can literally be that simple as just inviting them to the opportunity. But as far as just like hardcore reaching out to people that show absolutely no interest, then no, I don't do that anymore. And then with that, this is a really good question. So I had asked, how do you network when you think your customer and warm market has been used up? So here's the thing, and this is just going to be a blunt answer that you might not like to hear for anybody who's thinking the same thing. If you are a good network marketer or an entrepreneur, that means you're good at building relationships and maintaining them. And that means your market will never run cold. If your market is running cold or you feel like it is, then you are not creating genuine relationships. That's just the truth. And I know it sucks to hear, but it's true. Like, you have to be adding value and just giving people some sort of connection. And you guys, just keep in mind that it's not about you. The second that you start being like, oh, I really want to rank, or I really want a team builder, or I really need to make this sale. Anytime that you start thinking about yourself, like in a way that is like consuming you, it's automatically not going to work. Like, yes, you'll be doing the hard things and you maybe.
Isn't that the whole point of recruiting though? The only reason why you recruit in an MLM is to rank advance, is to get bonuses. It's not to help people, as some of these reps like to say. The motive behind it is so that you can make more money.
Yes, you'll be doing the hard things and maybe you'll be doing more work, but you have to remember who you're talking to. You have to remember who you're appealing to. We need to be resolving concerns. We need to be adding value, and that value is showing them what your opportunity can do for them. And I talked about this in my reel that I posted yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to read the caption. There's some good info in there about ways that you can share about the opportunity. But basically, if you feel like your warm market is running cold, then you're not building relationships. And so that's what you would need to work on if you feel like that's where you're at in your business, is just really connecting. Take the time to just not worry about it and just really talk to people and make it not about your business, and just really like, there are so many people, you guys, that I talk to that I have never talked to about the makeup or the business or anything. And honestly, a lot of them are probably entrepreneurs. But being able to connect with other entrepreneurs is just as awesome as anything. And some of them have turned into customers, even if it's like a little thing here and there. But yes, we're trying to make sales. Yes, we're trying to team build. But you can still just have friends. You know, like, it's okay to just have other people who support you on the sidelines. Like, I feel like that's a lot of the time that's how our families are, is our really close family and our really close friends are usually the people who support us like the least or like last. I mean, at least that's how it's kind of been in my experience. So that's why it's important to just always be learning and growing. And how you network is, like I was saying before, you have to be adding value. So think about this. Basically, you're resolving a concern. Like, let's not talk about sales. We're focusing on recruiting. So if you are trying to recruit, think about what are some common concerns that you maybe hear when you're talking to people, and what are some concerns that you had before you joined. So a lot of them are typically time, money, and don't.
So I would not be surprised if her family was not supportive of the MLMs that she was in, because she said this is what, her third MLM, or she's been in 3 before Seint. So if her family hasn't been very supportive because of the MLM, that's understandable. But it makes me sad if her family really has never been supportive of her. That makes me sad for her. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into it.
Those are easy to respond to or to create value with. So creating content of why your team or your company specifically is flexible, gives you the time, how you're teaching time blocking, how to be disciplined and responsible with your time, how there's a million different ways to make money, or how when you need money, this is the best reason to join. There's so many things that you could do. And then just educating people. I do a lot of posts about that as well, of educating people about MLMs and debunking a lot of myths or being really honest about things. And it helps if you're just honest and real with people and teaching, adding some sort of value, it goes a long way, and you're gonna build your network that way. And here's the thing, you also have to remember,
she brings up some good points, but I would like to know, how is she debunking things when it comes to MLMs? How is she educating people on MLMs? Are you using facts to back up what you're saying and sources? Or is it just opinion based? Because anti-MLMers and the anti-MLM movement has a lot of statistics, a lot of facts, a lot of sources that we cite. So I would like to know exactly how she's debunking things, because that I didn't watch all of her videos. I literally watched like 2 videos of hers, and this was one of them. The other one was the reel that I reacted to, and I just kind of scrolled through her feed to see that she did have like a lot of makeup tutorials. But yeah, I'd be curious to know how she's debunking these things.
remember, it's a long game. We all know this. It's just, it's not a get rich quick thing. It's a long game. So you've got to be patient. And that's why you have to find joy in the journey. Joy, what is it? Marry the process, divorce the results. And that's why when you're adding value and you're really connecting with people, it doesn't sting as much when people tell you no, because you still have a relationship with them, or at least now you know, right? So, okay, I've got lots of other questions, so let me get to them. I've had 2 to 3 girls who are interested, and we were gonna flip them. Oh no, where'd it go? Ah! Okay, sorry. But there was low engagement, so it discouraged people. Okay, this is also super common. So what this person's talking about, if you are a part of Seint, we do parties like Facebook classes all the time, and we can flip the hostess. So if they have a lot of sales, we can hold on to them. And if they are doing really well, we have the hostess sign up as an artist, and then we push all their orders directly under them so that they're making their money back. And obviously then their friends and family are their customers, which is ideal. But what happens when it's a flop? Like the class isn't going super well, and so they're discouraged by the lack of support or engagement. So, like I was saying before, often...
Sorry, I have to pause it again, because notice how even though they had someone who's a hostess, technically a hostess is still a customer of yours, but they already have that ulterior motive that, oh, well, we can flip them and make them one of our, like, part of our downline. So notice how that's already in their mind to do that.
Often, the people, at least in my experience, this is just my experience, so take this with a grain of salt, but a lot of the times the people closest to us often aren't that supportive. And it's because, well, there could be a million reasons, but there's something deeper there. If they're going to use that as an excuse, then you got to ask more questions and dig a little deeper. But also, were they even a good hostess? Like, were they doing all of the things, doing everything in their power to actually do it? Because if not, then you can have that conversation with them and just say like, hey, you know what? So I think it could have been better if you did this and that. And are you willing to go do those things right now? Just because a party's over doesn't mean you can't stop working, right? So, but There's usually something deeper there.
But isn't the hostess just there to be kind of like a vessel, like the middleman of between the rep and then all of these other people? Isn't the rep supposed to be doing all of the work? Because any old school party, at least before it all became, on social media and everything, but any of the old school parties, in-person parties where there was a hostess, the hostess didn't really have to do anything besides just have everybody in her home, and that was pretty much it. So, yeah.
The thing about it is you can never say the wrong thing to the right person, but you can also never say the right thing to the wrong person. So if you feel like you're spending so much time with one person and they're just dragging you along, let that person go. Okay? And you can have those conversations with them. It's okay to reach out and be like, hey, I know we've talked about this for like 5 million months or however long it's been, weeks, months, days, whatever. I'm just curious, like, are you actually interested? Or if you're not, like, that's fine. I just don't want to like keep doing this game, because so many people don't want to hurt feelings, but really they don't realize that by not telling us the truth, it actually sucks more because they're wasting our time. So give them an out, okay? And it's okay. Also, it's okay to tell people when you're talking to them that this might not be the best fit for them. I've had many of those conversations. Most of them are from people who are already doing a direct sales business. Not that it's not possible to do more than one, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, if you're really passionate about this one thing, why would you split your time and energy to do another thing just because you like it? Like, stick to what you know. Like, it's okay to tell people no.
I'll agree with her there that I'm going to give her props here, because she brought up a good point that, well, yeah, you can work for more than one MLM, but why would you want to if you're so passionate about this other one, and why would you want to split your time between the two? And I'll agree with her on that, because MLMs take a lot of time. They take a lot of your time. A lot of your time. So why you would want to join more than one is just beyond me. Also, the fact that she said the whole, it's okay to say no and it's okay for people to say no. I'm glad that she said that, because a lot of times the way that they teach you in these behind the scenes groups and stuff like that, this was taught to me along with so many others that I've talked to, that no doesn't mean no, it just means not right now. As I've said so many times, no is a complete sentence, and no means no.
People know. Also, like, if you want to recruit to rank and to team build and build a legacy, then you need A-game people. And so those are the people that you want. You also need the people who maybe don't want to be like big superstars, but like try and like don't, if people just want to make like $50 a month, sorry, but just move on. Okay? So anyways, back to the hostess question.
But what's wrong with someone who just wants to make $50 a month? Why would you say just move on? What if that person, all they want to do is just use a product and maybe sell it here and there to fill up their gas tank for however long, or to, $50, I don't know if that would fill my tank now because gas prices went up so much and I don't drive that much anymore. I mostly carpool with my husband. But when I had my Subaru, yeah, $50 would have filled my tank, and it would have lasted me for 2 weeks because of the little amount of driving, because I would only be driving from here to our business, which is not that far. It's like a 20-minute drive. So yeah, what if someone just wants to work and make enough for gas for 2 weeks? Maybe they were driving just as little as I was, or maybe that'll last them 3 weeks instead of 2. Especially because some of these uplines, when they tell their story, they say, oh, I just wanted to be able to buy groceries. I just wanted to be able to pay for my gas. So what's wrong with someone just wanting to make $50? Why are you going to say don't waste your time on them? If the person wants to sign up and they want to get a discount and they want to only sell $50, why are they a waste of your time then? if you need all of these people to rank advance. And you never know. Maybe that person who's only selling $50 a month, maybe it's because they're busy with their full-time job. Maybe they'll eventually have a booming biz and you'll be reaping the benefits off of them. So, yeah.
Back to the hostess question. If they're feeling discouraged because of lack of support, just talk to them. Figure out why they're actually truly interested in the opportunity. And if you can get deeper with them, and if they can find a true like intrinsic motivating factor that isn't based on, oh, my mom bought for me or my best friend bought for me, then it doesn't matter. It really won't, because they'll have a deeper reason. And that could be anything from, well, I really want to get debt free. Okay, well, if you want to get debt free, then you got to keep doing parties. This one might not have been great, but that doesn't mean that it won't be great a week from now. So what's the worst that could happen? Like, what's the best that could happen? And just dig deeper, ask questions, loop in your mentor, and just try and like decipher some things. Okay. Other questions. How do you get to all of your customers? I'm not sure what that question means exactly. If you could expand on that, that would be super helpful. Let's see what else we got. Okay, I think we've got a couple of repetitive questions, so I feel like I kind of hit some of them. Okay, yes, so true. Best friend, my best customers are not my friends and family. Same, totally same. Like literally, you guys, like for real. My best friends, I think like my true childhood best friend, I think she started buying from me a year and a half in, and she still doesn't buy from me anymore. Like she does, but it's just like not like consistently, and it's not a big deal. I really don't care. Like at the end of the day, if something's working for you, great, stick to that. Okay, I know, sorry, I'm going through all of these comments, so keep typing out. This is really good. And I have one big thing that I want to talk about, but okay, how do I keep track of conversations? Okay, so a couple different ways, but the best and easiest way is if you have a creator or business account, you can, there you have your general and your primary folders, like in your inbox, in your like DMs. Anybody that is in my primary inbox basically is somebody that I've had a conversation with about either the opportunity or as a customer. And so I know anybody in that box is somebody I need to like follow up with or whatever. Once they purchase or if they become an artist, I move them into my general box. Now, so that's like how I keep track. It's not perfect though. Like I don't recommend it, but that's better than nothing. So the easiest way is I use a third-party tool called Asana, and it's asana.com. If somebody wants to type that out. It's an app and a website. It's free. It's amazing. It's the best way, and I'm so glad I used it when I first started my business. It's a great way to just have a database for anybody and everybody that you've talked to, customer or prospect wise, and it's free, which is really nice. So it's basically like a list. It's like a website essentially, or an app where it categorizes everybody. You can give them tags. So like if I have somebody like Susie Q that I've talked to, I put in her name, her Instagram handle, or Facebook, whatever. And then I put like, oh, I sent her the artist program overview video. And then you can set a follow-up date for like 2 days later or whatever follow-up date that you set. And then I get a notification when I need to follow up with them. And it's really nice. And all their information is right there. And you can put notes in there. Like if they have a specific concern, you can put it in there so that you're like remembering, you know, the conversations you have. Because here's the thing. We're going to be connecting with a lot of people. We're going to be having a million different conversations. There's no way for you to remember everything. So if you take notes, it shows and it's really helpful. And then you can just do all these other things, like tag people that are like, oh, potential hostess, or customer, but she may be interested in the artist program one day. There's so many different ways that you can organize it, and it's really cool, and it's free, so I love that. So that's how I keep track of my conversations. Let's see. Hold on, scrolling. Asana, thank you. Oh, perfect. See, you use it for, yeah, that's actually how I found it, is when I was doing my recruiting for my corporate job, our sales reps used it, and that's how I found it. And I was like, this is amazing. So it's Asana, ASANA.com.
So she was a recruiter for her corporate job. I wonder if that might mean that she has a little bit of an upper hand compared to everybody else on her team, because she's already done this before in a corporate setting.
ANA.com. All right, a couple more questions. Oh, I love this question. Perfect. So how do you change the conversation from regular talking to talking about makeup? I don't want to seem like I'm only wanting them to buy from me. I love this question. And this same thing applies to buying your product or recruiting. And again, don't overthink it. Just ask them. It can just be a simple like, hey, I think you'd be great at this. Like, have you thought about it? It can just be that simple. Or the same with the makeup. Like, hey, thank you so much for supporting me, all my stories. Like, I just really, really appreciate it. I'm just curious if you've tried the makeup. It can be that simple. And a lot of the times when you ask them, they're like, oh yeah, I already wear it. Or, oh yeah, I've actually already been talking to somebody. And that, I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes that happens.
I'm curious to know, because this is posted publicly on her Instagram. I'm curious to know if the people that she either sells product to or the people that she recruited see this and they think, wow, so she literally just targeted me because she wants to make money in this business of hers. I wonder if anyone ever thinks that, because some people might see this and be like, oh, she's just doing her job. But I wonder if other people look at it and are like, damn, like she just got me. Like I was just a dollar sign to her.
But then at least you know. But that's the other thing, is when you drag out a conversation for too long, it's gonna be a little weird either way. But like I said earlier, you can never say the wrong thing to the right person. If somebody's interested, they're gonna be interested. And it's not gonna be weird. It's just like, don't overthink it. Just keep it really simple. But that's also why I kind of show up every day, and I talked about this in my reel from yesterday as well, is I show up every day in some way to talk about the artist program, whether it's a conversation with someone in my DMs or text messages or whatever, or it's like actually doing a story or a video or something like this. And then you can see patterns. You can see who's viewing your stories. If people are viewing your stories, send them a message. So I like to. This applies to the product as well. If I just do a tutorial, or if I just did a whole thing talking about the artist program and the opportunity that we have to offer, I see people are viewing the story, I literally just swipe up so I can see people are viewing it, and you can send a message from there. And when you send the message specifically from your story, it sends them like that little 15-second clip. And I like to do it that way because then they're like almost reminded of like, oh yeah, I did watch that. That was really cool. And so then I'll just say a simple like, hey Susie, hey, thanks so much for watching my stories. I like really appreciate the support. And I always say something silly like, sorry I ramble, because I do, if you haven't noticed. And I was just like, I'm just curious if you've ever thought about being an artist before. And it's just that simple. Like, thanks for watching my story specifically about the artist program. Have you ever thought about it? And then they either ghost you, which is not a big deal. They say, no, I haven't, but thanks for thinking of me. Or they say, yeah, I totally have. And then you have a conversation from there. So that's kind of like my cheat way to do it. And I do that with the product too. Like, hey, I'm just curious if you've ever tried Seint before. And yeah, and then from there, it's just, if they say no, they say no. Or actually, that could be a whole nother subject, is how when people tell you no, they're not actually saying no. But we'll answer the other questions in here.
But I thought she just said a little bit earlier that if someone says no, it's okay. But now we're talking about how when someone says no, it just means not right now. So she completely contradicted herself, and I take back the props that I gave her earlier. I forgot about that part in this video. She mentioned how one of her strategies with her Insta stories is she'll just message people from the views that she gets from that. Well, some people, number one, this is why I say they sign up everybody with a pulse, because, or they at least try to, because first of all, someone might be watching you because maybe they're a troll. Another person might be watching you because maybe they want to see you fail. There are people like that out there. There are people that hate watch. There are people that hate watch my videos because I'll get a dislike as soon as a video gets posted. And it doesn't happen on every single video, but it happens on some. And I'm like, the video hasn't even been out for long enough for you to watch the whole thing. So there are people that do that, which that doesn't really matter anyway because it's engagement. So, but continuing, then you might have people who, like myself, I've talked about this in a previous video a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but probably like a few months ago, where sometimes I'll forget that I'm watching Insta stories and I'll put my phone down and I'll completely forget. And especially like if I had headphones in or something and I just put my phone down with the headphones and I don't hear it. So my phone will literally watch Insta stories that I never had my eyes on. It's just my phone just kept going because I put my phone down. So that happens sometimes. But another thing too is that some people, you know, she's not looking at it, okay, well, how many people skipped the story or how many people exited it? Because if you're watching Insta stories and if you're going from one account's Insta story to the next, because it'll automatically go to the next one, and you might see, oh, she's talking about her MLM again. So you just click like next. So she's not taking that into account. And I get why she would message the people. I get that. But at the same time, you're not building any kind of relationship with the person because you're just messaging every single person that watches your Insta stories. And as I said before, I wonder if the people who she reaches out to, who have bought from her, who have been recruited by her, I wonder if they watched this video and they thought to themselves, oh, she was literally just seeing me as a $sign. But anyway, let's get back into it.
People. So, it's a great question, but we're focusing on recruiting right now. So if I have time to talk about like parties and hosting, I'll get to that. But while we're here talking about recruiting, and what I had just said is when people tell you no, they're not actually telling you no. Let's dive into that. So, sorry, I'm reading a comment. Okay, I know a lot is talking to your ideal client, but how do you talk to them? Okay, we'll get to that too. So when people tell you no, so someone type out something like a common thing that somebody gives you. Or if anybody's like willing to hop on live and we can do like a live action coaching call, we can do that too. But let's think, what's a common reason people say no? There's so many. Okay, so let's just say I swiped up.
I wonder why there's so many common ways that people say no. I wonder if it has anything to do with they're just trying to be polite and let you down easy. Because if there's common ways of them saying no, I hate to break it to you, but some people are just being nice.
I swiped up, I responded to somebody who watched my story. I was like, have you ever thought about the arts program? And Susie says, oh no, I could never do what you do. I'm just not good at makeup. It's so easy to just say, oh yeah, like totally get it. Thanks for the support. But hold on a second. She actually just said, oh, I'm just not good at makeup. Then it's just a simple like, well, tell me more about that. Like, have you tried the product? No? Well, would you like to? And boom, there you have a customer. Or it could just be something a little bit deeper, like, well, and at least with our makeup, like it's not for the, like the TikTok gurus, like we're for the everyday people who don't know how to do makeup. So then you can kind of coach and walk through there. But yes, time, I don't have enough time, super busy. When they're busy, you have to just ask questions. So it's really easy to just be like, oh, tell me more about that. Like, what's going on? My favorite, and you'll hear this all the time if you're on our team, favorite one-liner is tell me more about that. It's really simple. It's really honest. And you just need to live in their world a little bit. Just say, like, tell me more about that. Like, what's going on? And maybe they really are really busy. Like, there are people out there that are busy. But also, if people are really interested, they'll make it a priority. You guys, when I started, I had a kid. I was living with my in-laws. I had 2 full-time jobs, an hour commute to work every day. My husband was in school full-time. Then I got pregnant. Like, I literally had every excuse in the book except for going to school. Like, other than that, I literally had everything not in my power. But I made it a priority and I figured it out. And so that's when you start asking, well, tell me more about that. How much, like, what's your capacity every week to commit to doing this business? And then go from there. If it's 5 minutes, well, okay, maybe not 5 minutes. If it's 5 hours a week and they really have some big dreams and big goals and things that they want to accomplish, are they willing and able to take some advice from you and be coached by you and have the accountability from you to make it happen? Those are the questions that you have to ask. And if it's yes, then it's great. Here's my link, pick your kit, and we'll get you started. It's that simple. I think that's another big thing that people get really hung up on is they wait for you, or you're waiting for someone to ask you, great, like, I'm ready to sign up, where's my link? I would say probably 75% of the time, the people that I sign up don't ask me for the link. I just say, great, next step is to sign up, here's my link. And they do it. Okay, you need to be confident. And that is a whole nother thing is, that's really first and foremost, you guys, do you believe that you can recruit? Do you really believe that? Because I believe you can. I believe anybody can recruit. If you hesitate and say no, or say, yeah, I think so, there is a red light story there. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. If anything, like, woo, yay, you said no, let's figure that out. Like, why don't you believe you can't recruit? Like, that's exciting. And let's figure that out first, okay? So if you hesitated, or if you feel like you can't recruit, go talk to your upline and just be like, you know what? I don't really believe I can recruit right now. Can we talk about this? And then talk about it, okay? Okay, so that's how I handle the busy talk. Money is another big one. But that's a simple, I say everything's simple, but I've had a lot of practice, so I know some of this might feel uncomfortable, but it can be this simple. Someone says I don't have the money to sign up. You say, are you open to some idea? Well, no, first you say, if you had the money, would you sign up today? If they say yes, sweet, are you open to some ideas on how to make some money? Here's 5 million ways to do it. Credit card, bake sale, sell some stuff in your house, donate plasma, I don't care what it is. But if you're genuinely like, yes, if I had the money right now, I would do it, then here's some ways to do it. Go make it happen. Now, if they say, if you ask them, if you had the money right now, would you sign up? And they say no, they have more concerns and you need to figure that out. And sometimes and like I said earlier,
please don't ever open up a credit card for an MLM company. Been there, done that. Biggest mistake ever. Please don't ever do that. Don't use your credit card for these MLM companies. In addition, if there are a million ways to make money besides your MLM and she's telling people how to make money in order to buy the starter kit, well, then wouldn't they just make their money that way instead of joining the MLM if it's so easy to make money in other ways?
Figure that out. And sometimes and like I said earlier, maybe they're just beating around the bush. That's okay. You got to give them, like, if you feel like you're wasting your time, just tell them, like, you know what, maybe this isn't the right fit for you right now. Let me follow up with you in a few months. Is that okay? Great. Perfect. Tech savvy. That's another good one Brittany and Maddie brought up. So tech savvy. This one is hard because you can kind of do the same concept of, are you willing to learn? Yeah, most people are willing to learn. I would say like literally. I don't think I've ever asked somebody if they're willing to learn a new skill and they've told me no. But here's where you need to be a good leader, okay? If someone has a skill that they're not very good at, like Instagram or social media, they're not tech savvy, but they're willing to learn and they show you that they're willing to learn and work on it, you need to be patient and you need to meet them where they're at. It is not your job to have people meet you and your expectations. It is your job to individualize every experience for your people and fit it to them. Learning a new skill like Instagram is freaking hard, okay? How many of us are currently still trying to figure it out? So you gotta be patient, and I promise in the long run, if you stick with them through those like really uncomfortable and tough times where they're trying to learn something, they will bend over backwards for you. Like, you are building a really big connection there, and it's trust. And then guess what? When they're ready to move on to the next step, they will do whatever you tell them to do, and they will probably be one of your strongest people. Now, if they still join, they're willing to do the work, they're willing to do the things, but they're not actually showing you that they're doing it. Like, let's say you say, okay, go post a reel. When are you gonna do it? You're gonna do it by Friday? Great, I'll follow up with you on Friday. And they don't do it, then, you know, just kind of coach them through that stuff. But you gotta meet them where they're at, and you gotta work through those fears. That's your main priority, okay? Okay. Then let's go back to your question. So talking to your ideal client, but how do you talk to them? So I talked about this in a post, I don't know, probably a couple months ago. I like to say there's 4 different personality types. You've got income-based, people who want to make money, like serious money, and they want to like get debt-free, have financial freedom, whatever. Create content around that. And then you have like culture-based, like people who maybe have like lost themselves. They're not maybe as confident. They need some connection. This is a big one, especially with the last like year. They just want and feel to have something for themselves. Like, this is really common, I would say, with mothers especially, is we just kind of get lost in motherhood and we're like, wait, I'm not doing anything for myself. So appeal to that. So income, culture or emotion, I guess you could say. And then like fun. So there's so many people that just like to have a fun time. So again, that kind of goes back to your team culture of like, look how amazing we are and how epic and cute we are with our matching t-shirts, and hey, we're going to the Dominican Republic, like who wants to come? Like, they're there for the free stuff and the incentives, the rewards, like all of those really fun things. So you got to be showing those types of things. And then the last one is like more of your analytical people who need facts. How long has your company been around? How many people are in their area? What's the growth been like from one year to the next?
So notice how there were quite a number of manipulative tactics at the end there, talking about how over the past year, especially with moms, they want something like a sense of community and things like that. Clearly they are targeting specific people at a vulnerable state. And this is why I call MLM companies predatory. Because of this reason. And the thing is that this upline is learning this from someone or from somewhere. It all stems back to the MLM company. So that's the first thing. Second of all, I'm so sorry if I'm fidgeting or if I'm like touching my face too much, but these lights are so freaking hot. And like I said, this is the 3rd video I filmed so far today. I look different in every single video because I did my hair a little bit different and like changed my shirt and stuff because I didn't want to wear the same thing. But yeah, so it's very hot in here and I'm getting very uncomfortable because like sitting in the same spot for long amounts of time gets very uncomfortable. But we're almost done here. We have a little bit left of this video, so I want to power through it. And yeah, let's just keep going.
Next year, what sets your company aside from all the millions of other companies? Like, those are the things that they want to know, and you just got to kind of tweak to appeal to those. So really, it kind of just depends on who your ideal client is. But again, going back to what your job is as a leader, your job is not to fit, is to have people meet your expectations. You need to match theirs. And diversity is super important. And you have to be able to adapt to different personalities and to different groups of people. And so it's a lot of work for yourself, like building a team, but it's so worth it, because at the end of the day, we want a strong foundation. We don't just want like one or two people who are runners. You want a solid foundation so that when you hit your rank, you're maintaining your rank. When you get that big paycheck, you're getting that big paycheck every month. And a lot of that comes down to you.
But if you're looking for a solid foundation, then why are you messaging everyone who views your story? Not everyone who views your story is your target market. What you should be doing, if you're really, if you really want to go that route, click on the profiles of the people that you're messaging. Look at their profile, research them a little bit. Look and see if, a perfect example is the video that I made a few weeks ago about my hair thinning and how I was targeted by a Seint rep because of my hair thinning. When my profile says anti-MLM, they even liked a picture of stickers that said anti-MLM on them. So they don't pay attention. They just want to sign up every single person. And I'm actually going to shift over to this side because I'm getting really uncomfortable on that side. So we're going to shift it to this side. Sorry, guys.
To you. And I don't care where you guys are at in your business, you can change that in a second if you feel like that's something you need to work on. Hopefully that answered your question. More questions, let me know. Asks, how do you encourage new artists to put in more effort? You don't. Just to be honest. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot force them to drink. And again, it just goes back to expectations. Like, if you are putting expectations on these people when they have no idea that expectation is there, or they never agreed to that or anything like that, it just sucks for everybody. And however, I will say, I've had people tell me that they want to do all of these things and then they don't. And for a moment, it's like, oh, dang it, like I was really hoping that person would be like my rock star. But again, then it just goes back to like, you got to connect with them. And you lead best by inspiring and by, example. So if you want your team to be selling $5,000 a month, you better be selling $5,000 a month or more yourself. If you want your team to be recruiting, you better be recruiting. If you are not doing the daily actions that you want your team to be doing, then they're not going to do it. Like, it's just the way of the land. They're watching you. I promise your people are watching you even if they're doing nothing. But they're also really vulnerable, especially when they're new. This is hella scary. It's a lot of information. No matter how simple your onboarding process is, it's overwhelming. I promise. It is. It's just going to be overwhelming. So it's just reaching back down to them and just saying like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, is everything good? What's your capacity this week to work your business? And then can I follow up with you in a couple of days and see if you got these things done? Like, really, sometimes you just got to handhold them for a while and show them where things are and teach them the things of the business. But most importantly, they need to know that you believe in them, and that even if they're not meeting all of their goals perfectly or whatever it is that they set out to do, that it's okay and that you can work through it. But also, to kind of give a different perspective on that, there are also people that you need to stop giving your time to. And I'm not saying to completely disregard them by any means. I just mean, if there are people hungry who need your time, give them your time. But you can't resurrect the dead. So don't worry about that. It's okay to have people, and you're going to have people who do amazing and then drop off or never do anything once they sign up. It's normal. And you have to remember it has nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing. Nothing to do with you, okay? Okay. I think we've got like 2 more questions and my phone's gonna die. So I'm gonna try and bump this. What if they say something like, my husband isn't a fan of direct sales or MLMs? Okay, first of all, I could say a lot about this because it really, to be honest, it pisses me off. It pisses me off when partners aren't supportive. But I'm not gonna get emotional. My husband's amazing. I just mean like I'm not gonna get angry.
Why does it piss you off so much so that spouses aren't supportive of MLMs? There are plenty of spouses who don't agree with it because they see how much their spouse is losing. They see how much money is going into this and how little, if anything, is coming back out of it. They have to constantly hear about it all the time. So one, if we want to compare it to, spouses being supportive and stuff like that, my husband was very supportive of me when I was in my MLM, but he did tell me certain things and say, this isn't going to work forever. You know that, right? Like, you're losing money, and I see you always on your phone, always doing all of these things. You're not present with us and stuff like that. I support you in whatever you want to do, but just remember that you have other priorities. You have your family. So, and I took that as, you know what, you're right. And eventually I did leave the MLM. But even with like YouTube, for example, because I don't do YouTube full time. I know some people think I do this full time, and no, I don't. This is a part-time thing for me. This is whenever I have the time to create content is when I do it. But my husband and I don't talk about YouTube all the time. If I get bummed out by something, or if something happens, or a video that I worked really hard on didn't do as well as I would have hoped that it would have done, then yeah, I'll say something and I'll just say like, yeah, I'm really bummed out. But I don't, our main topic of discussion with one another is not my YouTube. Whereas the main topic of discussion when you're in an MLM is the MLM. It is the company. You're always on Zoom calls. You're always doing training calls and constantly on your phone. You're always talking about the opportunity or the products or whatever. You're constantly on social media saying, look at what, let's say in this example, Seint. Look at what Seint's been able to give me. I'm able to stay home with my kids. I'm able to hang out with my husband. But are you actually hanging out with your family? Or are you just using them for content to build your team? So it shouldn't piss her off that spouses aren't supportive of the MLM, because there's a reason why they're not supportive of the MLM. There's a reason why. Maybe it is that they just don't want their spouse working. Then yeah, that's pretty shitty. That's messed up. But if they're anti-MLM, for example, I don't see that being a problem. I wouldn't want my husband joining an MLM. He obviously wouldn't want me joining an MLM, which I never would again. But especially after all of the research that I've done into these companies. But if he joined an MLM right now, I'd be speechless. So that's something where, and another thing too, is that someone else's situation with their spouse is not your upline's business. It is nobody's business but your own. If you're having trouble with your spouse, and let's say that they're not supporting you in really anything that you want to do, then that's a conversation you need to have with your spouse, and maybe like a couples therapist or something. That's a conversation that should be held for you guys and for the professionals, and not for your upline, because every single person's situation is different. So anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Here's the thing. There's something else there. Every business problem is a personal problem. So I guarantee that the husband either feels like, it could be so many things, but Usually it comes down to the husband feels guilty, or I should say partner, because not everybody's married these days. Like the partner is like feeling incompetent, maybe like, oh, I'm not bringing home enough money, so my partner wants to bring in some more money. Like, dang, like that's my job or whatever. Or a lot of the times, I would say this is probably majority, their partner feels like it's going to take away from their time together. And it could like get into that relationship piece. And so when I have somebody say that, I just encourage them to have an honest conversation with them. And you have to be willing to live in that space with them. So encourage them to talk to their spouse or partner or whatever and not be defensive. They need to really listen and they need to ask questions. So it needs to be, you don't want me to spend $400? Tell me more about that. And it could, and then just go from there. Like, it needs to be a really honest conversation. And I know it's hard, but when you have that conversation, then it just, think about it. You're doing this business probably because you want some sort of dream life or freedom or whatever it may be. Don't you want your partner with you? Probably. I would hope so. And so you want them to be part of that. Like, you want them to be able, or I guess for anybody listening too, you want your partner to know what your dreams and your goals are. You want them to know what your struggles are. You need to communicate that, because if not, then it is going to feel like you're separating or that you aren't spending as much time with them. And if anything, then when they're involved, they're going to keep you hella responsible and accountable. Let me tell you, my husband every day asks me how much I sold or what I did today. And I'm always like, I did this or I didn't do this. And it's really good. So it's just a matter of having them be open to an open conversation and not being defensive and really listening to their partner and just having them ask questions. Or at the end of the day, ask them if they're open to a three-way call. I've done quite a few three-way calls with a prospect and their spouse. I think it's really fun. It can be a little intimidating, but it's good, I promise. Okay, last question, because I think my phone's gonna die any second. And if it does, I'm so sorry. Okay, I feel like I've been so much time trying to build a following and haven't spent time really trying to grow my business. Like, I haven't directly asked people. Yes, it's so true. Here's the thing, and we all know this, numbers don't matter, right? It's always quality over quantity. When things, or I should really say, when you focus on people, resolving their concerns, educating, adding value, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And honestly, you're just going to naturally grow, because when you're educating and you're adding value to people's feeds or daily life, they're just naturally going to want to follow you. It's just like, yay, like, it's just good stuff. So hopefully that makes sense. If we don't have any more questions, then I will hop off. I would love to continue conversations in my...
So that's it, because the rest of the video, she's just pretty much wrapping it up and saying bye and all of that. So what did you guys think of this recruiting call? I guess it's kind of like a recruiting training call type of a thing. Again, I'm so sorry if I was so fidgety on camera or the fact that I had to move over, but like I said, it's hot. I get uncomfortable a lot faster now than I did before. So yeah, but the last part about her talking with spouses, she almost tried to sound almost kind of like a therapist in a way. And the last time I checked, girl, you just work for Seint. You're not a therapist. And I agree that you need to have communication with your spouse, because I have communication with my husband. We communicate on everything. We have certain agreements in place. So we don't have to call each other for, I don't know, let's say that I want to go ahead and buy a dress from Target or something. I don't have to call and ask him, hey, is it okay if I buy this dress? I might ask him, hey, what do you think of this dress? Do you think I'll look nice in it? Just to see what his opinion is on it, but I don't need permission from him to do that. However, if we're making bigger purchases, like big amount purchases, then yes, we talk to each other about it and we say, hey, I'm thinking about spending X amount of dollars. I don't know if I want to spend it or not. I know that I have the money because we still have separate bank accounts and we have one joint account as well. So we each have our own account for our own stuff, and then the joint account is for everything else. But so if we know that we have the extra money or something like that, then yeah, we'll spend it. But if it is a large amount of money, because we are saving right now for to buy a house, so because of that, yeah, we talk to each other, we communicate with one another. But if my husband isn't supportive of something, there's no underlying issue with the relationship. It's he has an opinion about something. He doesn't think it's a good avenue to go or a good opportunity for me. So he's going to let me know. But this rep made it seem like, oh, well, he just doesn't want time taken away from you guys. Well, guess what? When you're in an MLM, a lot of time gets taken away from you. A lot of time was taken away from my husband and our dogs, even our families. A lot of time was taken away from my family. And I'm a very big family person. Family comes first for me. So that's why when I was in the MLM and I realized just how much time was being taken away from that, yeah, that sucks. And that is reason for a spouse to not be supportive. That's a good reason, because unless if you're in a situation where you really need the money, or let's say that you and your spouse are saving up for something, so you guys are working really hard for that, or let's say one of you just lost your job, so the other one is picking up the slack, or you guys are working multiple different jobs because of hard times, that's different. But if you don't have to do the MLM, especially because you're most likely losing money with the MLM, most likely, then there's no point in that. And I can see why a spouse would be upset about not having enough time, especially when you don't need this. And they can sit there and say, oh, well, there's the community behind it, blah, blah, blah. You can find community anywhere. You can go into Facebook groups too. You can go into, there's a few groups that I'm in for local, there's one for, I forget exactly what it was called, but it's for like local bloggers and stuff like that, if you guys want to meet up and stuff like that. So these types of things exist. You can find community elsewhere. If you're a person of faith, you can go to church, or you can go to whatever the case may be, and you can find a community there. There's so many different things. There's so many different ways of being able to find a community without having the MLM and without being a dollar sign to someone else. So I know I rambled. And I know that this video is incredibly long. So before I just keep rambling on and on and on and on and on, I'm going to end it here. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. And I will see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.